what up? How's it going? And welcome back for another video. In today's video, I will be showing you guys my top 5 favorite openers to play in TFT Set 6. Now, I am making this on the launch patch, so if you're watching this later, just be aware of that. But I do really think if you master these 5 openers, it can give you a really great baseline to work from throughout the entire set. But, you know, obviously the strength of these openers, if I talk about strength, will change with balance. But still, I think it is a great idea to go ahead and master these openers for your whole set. All right, anyways, let's get into it. So the first one I'm going to talk about, this one is more of an econ focused opener. So just know that it is a 3 Yordle, 2 Arcanists. This is a very realistic opener that you can get pretty much every game. And one thing I just want to mention real quick, I won't be including 3 costs in any of these openers because those are very RNG, right? Whether you hit a 3 cost at the very beginning of the game for your opener, it's very good to play around 3 costs if you know how to play around them. That's not what we're talking about in this video. And the other thing I just want to say real quick is that you need to be playing around your augments. And I'm just talking about in general, these are some things, if you master them, you can go ahead and play them every game if you don't know what to do. All right, so this is if you get some AP items and obviously you're hitting TF and all this good stuff. So if you just look at the board right now, this is a econ focused board because we are running 3 Yordle. There is a stronger version of running TF on your opener that I will show on the next opener. So just know that. So this one is going to be, it is not going to be super strong. It is a little bit more econ focused. It gets stronger as you play it out and transition out. But we're going to stack our items onto TF and to Poppy when we start our opener. If we add Darius into our comp and we get a Darius 2-star, we usually remake our Poppy and pop the items over to our Darius. Not hard to remake Poppy when you're running Yordles. Okay, and you're just using Yordles for econ. You're not playing for any 3 stars here unless you end up wanting to transition into like a Yordle comp. But you know, that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about just running this as an opener. All right, we're gonna stack items on our TF and stack items on Poppy. Just put tank items on Poppy. You can pop them over the Darius. Don't focus too hard on her items. I just put some really solid tank items there. Now, TF, on the other hand, these are some of his best items at the time of making this video. Now, Morello on TF is just absolutely broken because he just has really insane targeting, and he has pretty low mana cost. I imagine he's going to get nerfed pretty soon, but I can't imagine they change his targeting because his targeting is so good for the first time ever. I can't imagine that's why they nerf him. I imagine they probably just make his mana cost a little bit higher. But yeah, Morello is absolutely broken on TF. If you get a Morello opener, so strong on TF, even on a TF1, you can run a TF1 like most of your game. I'm running a TF1 on stage 5 sometimes. Blue buff is very solid. And then after that, just AP. AP is very good. So if you don't get a Morello opener, you can just run AP items. And again, obviously you won't have this many items. I'm just showing you guys some items that you can run. Okay, now to make this board stronger as you start to level, this is level 4. Level 5, you can add a young Dario. And as I said, you can start splitting up the items and putting them over here. And as you get to level 6, you can actually make a very strong, a lot of synergies board. If you still want to be running Yordles, by the way, you can drop Yordles at any time. So if you add a Heimerdinger and then add a Zyra, look at what happens to your synergies. Very clean synergies. You get Arcanist, you get Scholar, you get Bodyguard, you get Syndicate, you get Yordle. And then from here, you can just start, you can run this for your stage 3 and then start to transition to more of a late game build. Maybe you transition to a Lux or something like that. But I'm making a whole nother video on item holders and how to transition those items. So we'll talk about that later. So yeah, your level 6 can look something like this. But again, if you want to drop Yordles, you can just drop Yordles and start playing some Arcanist. Start playing around like Vex, start playing around Swain. You can make a very strong high DPS comp. You can end up dropping Syndicate. So you're not stuck to what I just showed you here, but this can be a very easy transition if you don't know what to do. Make a lot of money too, get you to fast 8 pretty fast as long as you stay healthy. All right, cool. Let's talk about the next one. All right, this one is going to be the stronger version of what I just showed you. So this is if you're not trying to make econ, you want to make the strongest version of a TF, of a realistic TF board at level 3 and level 4. This is what it's going to be looking like. Again, stacking the items on our TF, we added a Zyra in here, and then we stacked our items on Darius. Now this is just an example of some good Darius items, just tank items. I really like slamming Spark on Darius, especially if you know you're going to play AP and you really want to play AP. So insane. He gets so much value. Darius stays alive for a really long time, and units just surround him, and he just keeps sparking them and shreds their MR for TF. Now, so This is a lot like the other one, so I'm not going to explain the itemization too much. But again, you stack this guy, you stack this guy. And then from here, you can just add whatever you want. So from here, you can end up adding scholars. I really like adding a Lysandra when I hit a Lysandra. So you can end up adding scholars, very strong. You can always drop this, always drop Poppy for a Blitzcrank or for a Leona. That's going to be super good as well. I really like Leona a lot. I think she's very strong, keeps your Darius alive, especially if I have like a Spark or something. You can keep your Darius alive for a very long time. Really, really, really like that. Or obviously you can transition into running like 4, oh yeah, and you add an Arcanist here as well. Where's my Arcanist? So you can add an Arcanist, whatever Arcanist you want to. But again, you don't have to run Syndicate. You don't have to run Scholars. You can just run 4 Arcanists. There's a lot of options from this build, and it can be very strong, especially if you get a TF2 and a Darius 2. And you can just transition to a late game comp like transitioning to a Lux or an Akali or something like that. But again, we'll talk about item holders later. All right. I really like that one. This one's my favorite opener. I'm just a big TF lover. So, okay, cool. Now here is an example of an Innovator opener. Innovators, very good to play around. On the current patch I'm playing on, they're pretty strong, but they may not be strong in the patch you're playing on if you're watching this later. But you do need to learn how to play Innovators because they're very good, very flexible build. And at some point in the set, they're going to be strong, and they're strong on the patch that I'm on right now. So cool. All right, so this is just an example of a very realistic opener you can get with Innovators. Now, I just showed an example of if you're going to play Ezreal as your Innovator carry. These are just an example of some items that are good onto Ezreal. But again, if you're going to play Ezreal, you do want to play around Scrap usually. So you can add something like a Blitzcrank right after this. You can stack your tank items onto Singed, and then obviously you're going to have your little Scarab up here as well since you're running Innovator, and you're good to go. But yeah, these are just some examples of some decent Ezreal items. Don't focus too hard on the items, but you build AD when you play Ezreal, so just know that. I do like Giant Slayer on him a lot because he is hitting frontline or some type of shred because he does get stuck on frontline if you can't shoot through the frontline. He will not be able to kill the backline. Cool. All right, so some things to add from here. You can add a Camille, and it will give you Clockwork. This can be a decent addition to your team at level 4. Clockwork, very strong. Again, you can add this instead, like something like a Blitzcrank to give you Scrap. Play around your Scrap, very strong. I wouldn't play around a Ziggs to get Scrap. He's just not that good. And you need to buy a lot of time for Ezreal, so you'd rather play something like Blitz, who is a little bit more frontline and some decent CC, so he buys you quite a bit of time. Versus the Ziggs. So I never play around Ziggs. I never add Ziggs here to get Scrap unless it just makes a ton of sense, but it usually doesn't make sense. So cool. So you can add this. This can be like your level 5 if you want to play around Ezreal. But let me just show you something that you can play around level 6 that I really like to do. I like to drop Ezreal altogether. And I can play Warwick. Again, you can just play 5 Innovator, keep playing Ezreal, by the way. But that's of course if you high roll Seraphine or you have an augment to play Innovator, so that's a little bit more niche. You can totally just keep playing Ezreal, so don't think that you can't play Ezreal. But I like to add Warwick here, and then we add a Heimerdinger when we hit a Heimerdinger, and then, so this is level 5, right? So we have Innovator. And then we add a Lysandra. Where's she at? We add a Lysandra. Very strong. Look at our synergies. Very clean synergies. So anytime Warwick is meta on a patch, you start to play Warwick for your mid-game carry. You can actually usually transition this as long as you're pretty healthy and you hit 2 stars on like your Lysandra and your Warwick and your frontliners are 2-star and your Zillion hopefully. And if you need to roll for that, roll for it. You could usually transition this into a late game comp, and you just, you can item hold Warwick for your Yone, for your Fiora, for your Urgot, and you just transition out of Innovators, or you can keep playing Innovators and play Challengers, with like Yone, Fiora, that sort of thing. And so you'll just stack Warwick with some decent Warwick items, just AD, QSS. I'll talk more about Warwick items on the next slide, but yeah, I really like transitioning to something like this whenever I'm playing, when I play Innovators as my opener. Again, though, you can just keep playing Ezreal and just add scraps, add some strong units, or add up to 5 Innovators if you have the augments for it. So just know that you can totally play Ezreal. I just like playing that. All right, now, see, the reason why I didn't talk too much about items is because we're going to be talking about this. Now, this is if you get a Chemtech Challenger opener, very realistic opener that you can get. Now, you can either item hold onto Warwick, or you can item hold onto Twitch. If you get like a Twitch 2-star, the build does look a little bit different if you do a Twitch 2-star, because you will just play Warwick as a frontliner, and instead of this, you'll play something like a Cat or a Talon to get Assassin. And then hopefully you can get a little bit more frontline after that, like a Zac or something. Swap out your Warwick for a Zac. But this is going to be the Warwick version. This is the version I like a lot more. You can stack your tank items onto your Camille, and or you can stack them on the Synd if you want to, just whatever when you hit 2-star. But I do like stacking Camille a lot more. This is just an example of some decent Warwick items. He's very good QSS user, very, very, very strong, and you can transition that into a Yone later. Cool, Rageblade very strong, Giant Sword very strong, but there's a lot of good items on Warwick. RFC is good on Warwick, Infinity Edge is good on Warwick, Static Shield is good on Warwick, Titans is good on Warwick, so don't focus too hard on the items. This is just an example of some decent items. Okay, cool. Now, from here, you can transition into a 5 Chemtech. You can transition into a 5 Chemtech. You can do like a 4 Challenger tech if you want to. But my favorite is just running this as the inverse version of the build I just showed you. So I do really like just adding a zillion at level 5. At level 5 just to get clockwork. And then easiest thing here, we just add this bad boy in here. We drop Twitch, and then we add a Lysandra. Boom. We have the same board we just had, except for we got there a different way. So I really like building the inverse. You could just build the same board we just showed you, but in an inverse way. I do really like transitioning into this. And usually you can, if you get a 2-star Warwick, you 2-star all of your units. Maybe you don't have the 2-star Heimerdinger. Playing around your augments, you can transition this into challengers, into Chemtechs, into Urgot, any of that stuff, or into Jin or something. Play some Innovators. It's pretty easy. So I do really like playing the inverse version of the previous build I just showed as well. Cool. All right, now we are going to talk about the Protector Academy twinshot opener. This is not my favorite one. That's why it's at the end. I do really like the 2 variations of the previous builds I just showed you. Those are my go-tos right now for my AD versus AP. But this is another one that you can play. Now, here's some examples of how you can carry the comp. You can stack these type of items on Garen. He's very good with health as it does scale with Protector. Very good with some healing like BT. He does deal AD damage if you want to carry him as your early game carry, or if you want to play for 3 stars, right? And then third item, if you want to damage carry him, just put a damage item there. Infinity Edge, Giant Slayer is good because he is hitting frontline. Shred is okay. Cool. But you can item stack your Garen with tank or carry items, and then you can item stack your Kog'Maw with carry items. Now, I'm not going to talk too much about the transition here. I am going to talk about it, but it is highly situational, and this is why I only have one variation of this build. It is very, very, very situational, and this is why I don't like it too much, because if the mutant augment is really good, right? If you have like the double attack augment or the augment where you gain AP and AD, Kog'Maw does have dual scaling. And again, looking at Kog'Maw's items, Rageblade's very good. I like Giant Slayer, I like Hodge, but again, you can play AP on Kog'Maw, very strong with AP items. He's has dual scaling, so just know that. Remember, don't pay too much attention to the items. So if the augment is really good for Kog'Maw, you could like play a reroll Kog'Maw build, or you could use this as transition into a late game Kaisa build or an Urgot build or something like that. And you just add more protectors like Blitzcrank. You can add mutants, right? You can play around your mutants when you get the mutants. If the mutation is super good, you could even reroll Garen, right? But this is just the opener. The options and the transitions are pretty much endless with this comp. So this is one I don't really recommend as a first comp to master for beginners, because it is a little bit more complicated than the previous 2 builds or the previous 4 builds I just showed you guys. So yeah, transition this into a mutant comp. If it's good for you, you could reroll Kog'Maw or go all the way to a Kaisa and just hold items on your Kog'Maw, right? You can transition this into Chemtechs, because it is a twin shot. Kog'Maw can use items for Urgot. And then, or you could just reroll Garen and play around Garen, Academy, these guys. You can also just use this as transition into Academy and Academy challengers and play around Yone, right? So the options are pretty endless with this build, but I do think this one is a little bit harder to play around for beginners. And I'm not a huge fan of this build on the current patch, but you do need to learn this, because at some point it's going to be very strong. And if depending on who you ask, this is already a very strong build. So anyways, guys, I tried to keep this one pretty quick, try to blaze through this one because I know I can be a little bit long-winded. But I hope you guys learned something and learn these openers. I really love this set, and I really love playing around these openers. TF is my favorite champion in the game right now. I loved him from set 4, and they finally fixed his targeting to where his targeting is so juicy. So I really love it. And yeah, guys, if you guys learned something or watched all the way to this point in the video, please let me know in the comment section. I love reading that stuff. Obviously, it helps me on YouTube, and so I would appreciate it greatly for that reason. But I do just love reading it. I genuinely want to help you guys get better. Obviously, I'm trying to grow a business, but I do love when I see that stuff. It does fill my heart with joy and sends dopamine into my bloodstream. So anyways, guys, if you want more of me, I stream on Twitch. I stream about 5 days a week. We're on that grind. We're having a lot of fun in this set. We'll hit challengers at some point. We're kind of just having some fun right now. So if you want to have some fun, some good vibes, come by my stream. And if you want to follow me on Twitter, I post every single day. So it's not a dead Twitter, but I do need some more followers, guys, because you know, it's kind of lonely out there, man. I do appreciate everybody who is already out there, though. Anyways, all right, that's gonna be it. Appreciate you guys, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye. Bye.